Hey everyone, thanks for joining us. In this session, we're going to explore how security leaders can move beyond just compliance to being truly resilient and having threat-ready programs. I'm joined by Randy Vickers, the Deputy CISO at National Student Clearinghouse. Randy brings deep experience with securing sensitive data at scale, and we'll be talking about some practical strategies, lessons learned, and priorities for 2025. If you have questions, please do put those in the Q&A part of the interface. And upvote your favorites, and we'll get to those at the end. Now, Randy, before we start, I know that you recently went to see Metallica with your daughter, and I have to ask, how was that?
I'm not a huge heavy metal fan. I like it, but it's not something I listen to every day. Actually, I listen to country western, so big contrast. One of the best, if not the best concerts I've been to in a long time. It was really cool. And the thing that made it the most special, it was the first time any band had played in Lane Stadium, which is the home of Virginia Tech in Blacksburg, Virginia. They have a tradition when the football team comes on, they play Enter Sandman, and the whole stadium just jumps, in excitement. Well, they played that the last song, and not only did it rock, but the local seismology center close to campus actually registered a small earthquake. And don't believe me, Google it. It is really cool because they isolated where it was, but between them just rocking out and the fans jumping around, it registered a small earthquake,
Wow.
which was kind of cool. And to witness it and be part of it was really, really exciting.
That's really cool, man. I'm glad I asked. All right, cool. Now we'll get into what we came here for today. Just first off, can you just share what you all are working on at NSC, National Student Clearinghouse, what some of your priorities are, or some of your projects you're thinking about?
So I know many of you are going, what's the National Student Clearinghouse? And we have, our main purpose is we're a data organization. We are custodians of learner data, K through 20, kindergarten through advanced degrees, for 99% of all the universities, community colleges, et cetera, across the country, and a few outside the US, especially foreign colleges that have US students, as well as foreign students in US universities. So data is our practice. And so what we have to do is we got to make sure that data is secure, so the clearinghouse can do its job, can provide services not only to university registrars, other aspects of student loan, as well as individual learners trying to get their transcripts, and also services that have to verify someone has a degree or has some type of education when it comes to background checks, special offers, like the NFL offers special offers and things like that. So the things that we're focused on right now is how we can better secure that data, always continually looking for ways to secure the data as we're moving to cloud, where we store the data, doing everything from the obvious things like encryption, but we're looking at tokenization and masking data so we can do more testing at earlier stages of application development, or allow us to expand any type of support we get to offshore support teams, because you can't triage a problem in production if they can see learner data, PII and stuff like that. So we're looking at ways to better secure and better do those type of the work that we do on a daily basis.
That's really interesting. And I mean, that makes me think of one of the pieces of advice that I give for reducing risk, which is if the less sensitive data you hold, the less risk you have. And obviously you need to have people's PII to be able to do what you do. But also, if you can mask that data, then you can, share it in ways that make it useful without, expanding the risk of its exposure. And it sounds like you also have a really integrated ecosystem in terms of all of the potential consumers of the data, like you mentioned the NFL example?
Yeah, and the things, the services we provide, some free, some at a cost. We also have a research center that provides large amounts of research to various institutions, schools, Department of Education, and things like that. So to be able to provide the type of support that we do, and the fact that, you know, we're a one-shop stop for example, transcript services. When people apply for, you know, advanced degrees or other certifications, and they want, you know, your transcript, and let's say you went to 3 different schools, or, you know, you went to a junior college as well as a major university. In the past, you had to go to each different university. Now you can come to us and get that. One of the other things to make it even become more complex is we are going to be getting non-degree certification data. And that can be everything from college that offers certificates in system engineering to other programs that provide certifications for apprenticeships, certifications for your career, things like that. You know, like for me, having a CISSP from ICS squared or ISC squared, you know, that would be information that would be provided to us, so you can get the whole learner life cycle, not just a college or high school or whatever. So it gives the whole learner life cycle. So that's why the security of that data is so critical. Even though we don't own the data, we're only custodians, we have to get the data. And as soon as we have one minor incident and we lose the credibility and the reputation, we'll stop getting data. So the security of that data is highly critical.
Yeah. And so certainly amongst the higher education sector, then we have lots of customers, and I get to talk to them very often. And one of the, you know, I guess concerns there, but really all over the world, is tighter budgets. How do you have any advice on how to, you know, run a really efficient security program? Because it sounds like you're saying you can't compromise on the security given how much data you handle and how important it is. But yeah, how can teams, or any advice on how teams can navigate tighter budgets right now?
The number one thing to me is ROI. You know, your return on your investment. If you're not getting what you need, you cannot just, let's say you've had a capability for multiple years, you've gotten accustomed to them, but for whatever reason, they're either their price is going up, or the level of output that they're providing you is not the same as it used to be. You cannot be afraid of letting that product go and looking at new stuff. You've got to continually evaluate your products, because as you stated, you know, costs are going up, budgets are getting tighter, and look at ways to maximize. If you don't need a whole, you know, let's say product does 10 things and you only need 3, find ways to get just those 3 if nobody else can provide those. And stay away from the upsell. It'll happen. I mean, I mean, you know, one of the biggest upsellers in the world, and we use them because they have a complete package, is Microsoft. We're a Microsoft 365 shop, and they'll upscale. Now, you know, some of the security tools that we use, they'll piecemeal certain things. Yeah, if you want this, you know, you got to buy this bigger package. Well, I only need that one thing. So you just really got to find what works for you. Go ahead.
I was going to ask, what does a good tool look like? A tool that you're happy with, that you would stick with for a long time. How can you tell that a security tool is giving you good ROI?
Couple of things. One is it giving you the output, or what problem is it solving? The problem you have it in place for, or not necessarily a problem. You know, obviously, if you're trying to secure email, is it doing what you need to do at the scale that you need it? The other thing that I think is extremely important is what kind of service are they providing you? Do they have professional services that will help you set up, help you maintain, answer questions in a timely manner, not put you in some queue that takes you weeks to get answered? You know, that to me is almost as important as the output, unless the tool is so intuitive that you can do it all yourself without any help, which there isn't a tool out there unless you develop it yourself. So, you know, understanding what the output is it giving you what you want? That's key. But also, what's the kind of service you're getting from that? And I mean, if you're paying for a service, you've got a level of effort that you should get from them. But if you're not getting that, that falls back into that ROI. And I'm gonna say this not because this is their session, but we have had excellent support, excellent output. Everything we need for what UpGuard is providing us is being provided. And you know, and Jessica Pierce, who's our point of contact. If I have a question, I get a response immediately. And so that's the kind of proactive kind of things. And sometimes they're asking us questions. Hey, we're doing this, telling us when new things are coming out. And it's a very interactive and transparent conversation. And those are the things that are important.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I use lots of software, and you're always going to have problems. And then if someone can help you solve it quickly, then it really makes a big difference in your day. I guess another kind of advice, or like what we can learn from your experience kind of question, is what kind of practices do you have in your team that you think really make a difference in how well you're able to perform, or and really are game changers for your team?
Well, with any team, you've got to find ways to keep your processes current, keep them, you know, flowing with the technology. As you bring in new technology, you've got to make sure everybody on the team can use it. You know, the one of the biggest problems I've experienced over time, you always have this one task or this one thing that has a single point of failure. Meaning when that person's out, you really hope nothing goes wrong because you don't know who else can do that. So the fact of finding ways to be able to share the experience, so when, you know, one person is out, the task at hand doesn't fail. But you know, as many of the folks on this call that have IT engineering or cyber or anything hate documentation when you have to do it yourself. We all want documentation, but we hate doing it. One of the things that we're doing, and yeah, we have to make a project of it, is we're starting to document all of our procedures. And interestingly enough, a technique that we're doing with Microsoft Teams is whenever we're going through some process that you can share your screen, we videotape it and then save off the video. And that way, if somebody needs to do something, they can go review the video and then go back to it. You got to keep them current, same with any documentation. But, you know, communicating, transparency, keeping everybody informed. I think those are the things that you really have to keep up with on a team. And I know everything I'm saying sounds like common sense, but I have been in many organizations that there's not a lot of communication when people stay in their lane, they do their thing, and you got to be willing to bring people together or help people come together and communicate and make sure folks are doing the things they need to do, and you know, share the wealth. The people that should be doing it should do it, and not, you know, if it's not a cyber job, cyber shouldn't do it, but they have to provide the oversight, define the security requirements, things like that. So it sounds easy, but it's not. It's not as easy, you know, but it's doable.
I think we have a good question that I think the people, you know, watching this who are in the trenches as well know that it's not as easy as it sounds. And I think we have a great question about it, which was, I'm going to summarize a little bit, but what have you found most effective in driving cultural change around third-party risk? And saying for us, the biggest challenge hasn't been the tech, it's been shifting business unit behavior around vendor accountability, onboarding, and eliminating shadow IT. So how do you build alignment across the business?
Third-party risk is probably the hardest thing to deal with because, and some of it is how you define third party. Sometimes third party is anybody outside your company. I also look at third party. Whenever you provide or get services from a specific vendor, they sometimes get services from somebody else to do their job. Mm-hmm. When I was a CISO at the House of Representatives, the U.S. House of Representatives, we were working with a vendor that had their own cloud service provider. And, we had specific requirements about cloud services, how they're used, how they do their security, et cetera, et cetera. We couldn't talk to that cloud service because we didn't have a contract with them. We only had the contract with our service provider itself. So if that cloud service provider did some things that we didn't agree with, our hands were a little bit tied. So really some of the things to deal with third-party risk is find ways to assess them, i.e. a tool like UpGuard. And also really, really get detailed whenever you're doing your contract. Make sure you understand what they can outsource and what they can't, and find ways to reduce the risk. You're never going to eliminate it completely, but find the things you're comfortable with kind of letting go and don't worry about it. But the stuff that you really want to tie down, put it in the contract as you're setting up the vendor. Look at, do a good, strong review of their terms and conditions, what they expect you to do and what you expect them to do as it's defined in the terms and conditions. So I know it's a little bit more administrative than technical, but on the technical side, find ways that you can monitor. Definitely get documents like their SOC 2 and any other assessment that they are required to have. And then the other things is see what things they will let you do and monitor. Some are open books, some are very close knit. Figure out where you're comfortable and figure out what you can do. Once again, codified in a contract as part of your contract. So if you have something that's highly sensitive and you want to do a pen test on that small portion of the overall environment, see if you can get that written into the contract and then work with them and do that pen test.
Contracts are great.
Understand their resiliency, because that's the other thing. Everybody assumes that they've got backup plans, continuity and things like that, just because they're a cloud service provider. Understand how your tenancy, how your portion, what its backup is, and what your responsibility is, and what their responsibility is. So there's a lot of things that can be looked at in that. That's almost a whole conversation in and of itself.
Yeah, for sure. There's another question that, there's a question. The essence of it is, what's your approach to AI, artificial intelligence, given the types of data that you're handling? But I think it flows on from what we were just talking about, in that, a lot of the research I'm doing right now is about AI in the supply chain. So like you were saying what's happening with AI is just a repeat of cloud services from 10 years ago, where your third party has a fourth party cloud services provider, and you need to figure that out and then manage it in the way that your business is comfortable with. The same thing is happening now with AI services, where probably all of your vendors are using AI in some way. You need to know what it is and what data is being transferred to them, because, I'll be sharing more of this research in the next month, but there are lots and lots of little vendors in the supply chain that are popping up and offering AI services and then leaking the data all over the place. So that's my daily interaction with AI, is finding out technology that people have just spun up and configured poorly, And then it leads on to the question of, well, how do you manage that kind of third-party risk? But yeah, so even just starting with your organization, how are you all approaching AI?
So we just had a CEO change. Our previous CEO retired, and when AI propped up on the scene, he was, guns ablazing. We're going to use AI in a secure way. He wasn't just, Katie bar the door and just, full speed ahead. But before we started really looking at it, we pulled a team together across legal, cyber, risk management, and a few other folks, and we sat down and contemplated and wrote an AI policy, which it's just right as about the year mark. We're time to review it, and part of that working group, the AI working group that's stuff, we also approve AI and use cases, and we look at things like how the AI learns, what happens with their large language models, what are those things. But what we're also learning is AI has become so integrated in everything, not just a few things here and there, like cloud services. It was just a few things here and there. AI is in everything. I mean, think about the day. Who remembers when Google started, when you Googled something and the first response was a Gemini response? I can't even remember, because it just happened. They didn't say, hey, we're going to integrate it in your search output. So did we go through the AI working group to approve Google? No. So we're going to have to start thinking about how we are going to start vetting AI products and use cases, because it's becoming so integrated in the day-to-day activities. And obviously, AI from a security perspective, we try to stay on top of that, because the things that make AI tough for us is it may not be new and novel, but they're able to make things cleaner and better, and for them, not us. Phishing, for example. You can you get enough information, pull it in, and create a phishing email, phishing text, phishing whatever, and it becomes harder to detect, and people are going to click through. And now AI and deep fakes becoming even more and more crazy. So AI is going to be challenging in a lot of different ways, but it's also going to be product enhancing. So it really is the nuclear fission of the IT industry. It can be used for good, it can be used for bad.
Randy, we're definitely coming up on time. Is there any last minute thing you want to say before we sign off for today?
I would say, for those of you that are just starting up your cyber teams, or doing things where look at your processes, look at what you want to secure. Everybody talks about the keys to the kingdom. Yep, you got to figure out what those are, but pull the team together and pull stakeholders together and have strategy days. What's your cyber strategy for the next year? And maybe if you're stable enough and you're not too new, you're mature enough, what's a cyber plan for the next 3 years? But you got to understand where the corporate goals are going. What are they doing? What are the things that you need to focus energy on? Think about how you want the cyber program to integrate into the business practice, because cyber is a force multiplier, not a business stopper. If you people that think about cyber as blocking and tackling, block this, do this, you'll never be successful. It's the yes, but you can do it, but maybe we try it this way. Maybe we do these things. You still got to put things in place to secure the environment, but you got to do it in a way that business grows and business is enhanced. So that's the thing, and it takes collaboration. It's not just some,
All right, hey, Randy, I'm sorry, I gotta cut you off, because it's gonna die here. Thank you so much for joining. I love talking to you, and you shared a lot of great ideas with everyone.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Yeah, and I know there were even more good questions. We didn't get to those today, but we'll follow up with you all. And yeah, thank you to everyone. That wraps up today's summit. And we look forward to seeing you here next quarter, or even maybe at a live event sooner than that. So yeah, it's been great. See you all.
Thanks, everybody.